Let's open up these boxes and show you what's inside. Oh, that was easy. Hey guys, it's David from Gigi's Fabric Shop, home to Juki and Janome Junkies. And in today's video, we're going to show you how to set up the J-350 Miyabi Sit-Down Longarm. This machine is incredible and it's super easy to set up. So let's get started. Okay, so let's rewind just a little bit. So you just ordered this J350 on JukiJunkies.com. You're gonna get a phone call a couple days later and we're gonna arrange the day of delivery with the freight company. This machine and all of these boxes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 boxes that are gonna arrive on a pallet to your front doorstep. Now, the machine head box and some of these boxes are a little heavy, so we do recommend having a little bit of help to get it unloaded. Unless, if you can pick up 40 or 50 pounds, you could probably do it on your own. I can do it on my own. So I believe in you. You could do it on your own. So once you get those boxes in the desired room that you want to set it up, now all you got to do is just start opening up the boxes. But the first 2 boxes that I like to open up is going to be the leg box and the tabletop box. We'll leave these 3 boxes for the final portion of this setup. So let's go ahead and get these 2 boxes opened up on the floor and let's start setting it up. So the first step, I'm going to go ahead and set up the tabletop. We're going to go ahead and get the instructions out of the TL35 controller box. That's where you're going to find your instructions for the tabletop. So you'll find all of your instructions here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that to the side and open up this box. We recommend using a razor blade or a pair of scissors to go ahead and cut open all this tape. And once you get all that tape open, now let's go ahead and open up the tabletop. Okay, so the first step is get your tabletop, and this is going to be labeled A1. And this is what's going to be where your machine slides into. You can see the cutout. So you're going to want to lay this on its back, and you're going to want to expose these little screws on the bottom so you can see, or nuts, I guess you would say. This is what's going to hold your bolts down from all of the little tables to make one big sandwich, pretty much. So you're going to look at these reinforcing plates here. These are labeled A5 and A6 if you're following along in the user manual and setting this up. So you're going to go ahead and just remove all of these Phillips headed bolts, and these can all be thrown away, or you can recycle them and reuse them in your shop. But we will not be using these again, nor will we be reusing the reinforcing plate. So you can go ahead and toss this, like I said, or you can use it for something in your workshop. Once you get those all removed, get those screws away from it so that way you don't accidentally confuse it with something else. So I'm going to go ahead and put these down here. The next step is going to be locating your bolts for this tabletop. So you're going to have 12 long bolts, and these are going to be labeled B4, and you're going to want to get the washers, which are going to be labeled B5 in your setup manual. So you should have 12 of the washers, 12 of the bolts, and now what you're going to do is you're going to locate your supports here, and these are going to be labeled A3 and A4. A4 is going to be the shorter one, and A3 is going to be your longer one. So we're going to go and get these long ones lined up on the outside holes, and then these smaller ones should line up on these inside holes. And I always like to check and make sure these all line up by putting these long bolts in these 3 holes, just to ensure everything lines up before you put the next sandwich part on. And now we can go ahead and grab our bottom piece, which is going to be labeled A2. And this is just, A2 is going to just sit on top of this, and everything will be put together from there. It is nice to try to get them all lined up, actually, now that I think about it. It just makes it a little bit easier when you put that top plate on. It's not that important because these are going to shift around. But if you can get them relatively close like that, it'll just make it a little bit easier once you get this top plate on. So now you're going to grab A2. And this point, it is nice to set this down on top. And this would be a good part to have a second hand because this plate is actually pretty heavy. And you're going to also want to pick it up and move it as you can start lining up a couple of these, maybe the outside corners first. That's what I recommend. Remember to put that washer on first before you put that bolt in. Don't go too happy with it, but just get the outside corner started so you can kind of start getting everything lined up. And you can kind of pick up on the sandwich, I like to call it, and just make sure it's lining up. You can kind of work your way down. And you can hear it when it hits the bottom if it hits metal, and that's how you know it's pretty much lined up. Remember, don't go too far down. Don't tighten them too much. We'll go back and tighten them up all at the end. So we're just gonna go ahead and put a couple of these in these corners. And you really don't need a drill for this. You can just use a regular handheld Phillips head. And if you are using a drill, make sure it is on a very light setting. You don't want to over tighten these screws and pull anything out of place. Now this table is real wood and it's pretty solid and heavy duty, but you never want to over tighten anything. So just keep that in mind. This one needs to come out. And I'm actually using my Timmy tweezers to reach down in here and pull these bolts out if I miss the placement, which I did on this one. There we go. Fun little story while I'm setting this thing up. I actually set one of these up probably about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. I tightened them all down prior to actually lining everything up as I was going, and it really did take me a long time. So it is important. Sorry again if my head's in the way. It is important to get everything lined up before you tighten things down, and if you can get the outer ones done first, you'll experience much better success. If it's not going down, you might just have to pull that little support underneath, slide it this way or this way a little bit, or this way or this way a little bit. It's not too bad, but that's the best way I've found. And you can also look through this top hole and make sure it looks like they're lining up a little bit better before you drop them down. Wow, this is actually going so smoothly that I'm going way better than my first try at this a couple years ago. All right, well, it looks like we've got a couple extra washers, but I know I used them on all of these. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 extra washers. I'm gonna go ahead and just go back with my manual tool and just tighten them down hand tight. And right when you get nice and tight, just do a little bit more. You can kind of hear a little bit of crinkle, and that's just the wood compressing. You don't want to go where it keeps crinkling. You just right about there. Don't overthink it. Just get it nice and snug at first with one hand, and then do one more little quarter turn like that. You don't want to over tighten it. You don't want to under tighten it, and these things be wobbly. Okay, now that we're done with the tabletop, we went ahead and set that over there to the side. And now the next step is the legs. Now the legs are super simple. You're gonna wanna get these two legs standing up. There's gonna be a right side and a left side. So the right side, looking at the back of them, there's an inside channel on these legs, and you want those to be facing each other. And then obviously you want the long portion to be facing the front. Once you have that done, you're gonna grab this back plate with the Juki logo on it, and you're just gonna put it on the back. And you're gonna be using these bolts. Honestly, the user or the setup manual doesn't really tell you what the bolts are called or what size Allen key. And so I just grabbed an Allen key that fit these. I put the lock washer, the washer on. So you just do lock washer and then washer. And then now I'm just gonna go ahead and hold this plate up with one hand, hand tighten one of those. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab another bolt, put a lock washer and then a washer on it, and do the same thing with the other leg. So I'll just bring the other leg close to this leg. Now I'm just gonna repeat this process until I get all 4 bolts in. And I'm just hand tightening them to start, and then I'm gonna go back and actually tighten them down with my Allen key. Okay, so the next step is gonna be putting on this little leg base support. What you're gonna do is you're gonna grab these 2 looking brackets here. They're gonna slide in here like this, not like this. And so they just slide underneath, and then you can just reach your hand underneath that, holding that up. And then you're gonna grab the bolt that has a lock washer and washer already on it, and it has a Phillips head. And you're just gonna move that over until you get it underneath on that bracket, just like that. Just hold the bracket with your finger while you tighten this down, and then just get it snug enough where that bracket doesn't want to rotate in a weird way. And then we'll go ahead and repeat that process on the right side. and it's literally the exact same process. This is a point where actually what I just discovered is you should probably push this bracket towards the back a little bit more, because these legs tend to kind of bow out like this towards the front. So without an extra hand, it's easier to start this bracket in the back. So I'm gonna have a helper actually push on that leg over there, push on the front a little bit, there you go. And that's gonna bring these two legs a little bit more in line. Push more. There you go. Okay, perfect. So I just need a little bit of support because I'm pushing against nothing, so this whole leg system's trying to go that way. Once I get those attached, I can go ahead and pull this forward towards the front area. I don't really want it all the way forward, actually. I'm going to probably put it like right about there, right in front of these pieces here, these arms that come up, and then I can go ahead and tighten those down. This isn't going to be used for a foot pedal. It's really just going to be used for support, because the foot pedal on this machine, you don't really need to keep your foot on it all the time, because there's different modes on this machine that you don't need to. So now that I've got those supports on there, I'm going to go ahead and flip this bad boy like this, and I'm going to put the legs on. Okay, so the next step is going to be putting on your legs. At this point, it's a good idea to go ahead and put on your casters if you got casters. If not, follow these next instructions. So you'll put this little plastic cover over just like this, and it just slaps on down. And then you've got 4 bolt or nuts, you've got 4 washers and 4 lock washers. What you'll want to do is you want to grab your actual like foot, I guess you'd call it, or leg. You'd put one of the nuts on there, so rotate that all the way down, then do lock washer and then washer. And then this screws into the leg just like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and screw them down all the way. And then at the end, once you get this thing on the ground, you'll want to go back and actually level these out. So just go ahead and get these little plastic covers down on all 4 legs, and then repeat this process on all 4 legs. Okay, just like that, we've got the legs on there. Those nuts, the washers, and the lock washers are designed to be able to adjust these legs out, and then you can tighten down this one nut down onto the washer and lock washer, and that'll lock this in place so it doesn't rotate on its own. So you'll want to use an adjustable wrench to wrap around that nut, tighten that down once you have got it to the desired levelness on your machine. So keep that in mind. You'll want to set this up, put it on your ground. Every house is a little different. Once you get the tabletop on there, and level each one of these legs individually. So now that we have the legs done, it's time to put the top supports on, and this is what's going to attach the tabletop to the actual legs. Grab these leg supports here. Both inside channels are going to face just like we did with the main support of these legs. So they're going to face each other. They can really only go one way, and you'll find that out once we get to the next step. So long points are facing forward along with the long supports of the leg. Now you've got 6 bolts total, 6 lock washers and 6 regular washers, and then you've got these 2 mounting plates here. These mounting plates are going to go in facing towards the front of the legs. You're going to have this side facing towards the front, and of course this flat side where the nuts are kind of like welded on this bracket. The flat side is going to be facing the inside. So let's just go ahead and put this inside of this channel here. What I like to do is go in straight like this, rotate it to the right, and now is a good time to figure out how high you want to get this table. So you'll see on the sides, there's little lines on the sides of these legs, and those little lines indicate how high each side is. So you want to get these sides on the same height. You can bring these suckers up like really high. So that's about as high as you could actually go right there. That's for like standing up and using this. We're gonna just set this up. We're gonna set this up on, let's do 1, 2, we're gonna do 1, 2, the third, we'll do the third big line. So there's a whole bunch of little lines and big lines. We'll do the third big line. That's where we're gonna set this one up. I'm actually setting this bad boy up, and then I'm taking it somewhat apart again because I'm shipping this machine out today, and I promised this customer that I'd set it up for her. So 1, 2, 3. So once you get it to your desired spot, you can go ahead and put these bolts in, and there's going to be 3 bolts that you have to get inserted in here to hold these legs. Just like that. So really what you want to do is not tighten these down too much, so just get all 3 bolts in, just hand tight, and then get it to your exact desired location, level, and then tighten them down the rest of the way. Go ahead and go to the other side, put this bracket in just like this, and now you'll see those lines on this side over here. You can see what I'm talking about on those lines a little bit better. And you might have to move this bracket a little bit to get everything to line up. So I'm holding the bracket down on the back side when I tighten these down. And now that I've got them all in, just hand tight, I'll bring it up to that 3rd line. Oh, actually I can't go to the 3rd line where I'm at. So you'll see on the inside of these legs, there's 2 grooves. So you've got 1 groove and 2 grooves. The 2nd groove is going to be for a much higher position. So I'm just going to set this table up to the highest and the 1st groove. So we've got 1 big groove, 2 big grooves down here. I'm just going to set it up to the highest and the 1st position. So now I'm going to grab my Allen key and tighten this down all the way. And this is a 5mm Allen key that you're going to need. Now I can adjust the height of this once I actually put the machine on, but once you get the machine on, it's going to be much heavier and you're going to want multiple hands. So you'll probably want to just put the tabletop on and then adjust the height to your exact location if you want to. And just like that, we now have the legs fully set up, and we are left with only 4 little bolts, and these are Phillips heads with those 4 washers from earlier, and this is what's going to actually attach the tabletop to the legs. So now let's go ahead and get these legs on the floor and off of this tabletop. Okay, so now that we've got the legs off the table, it's time to put the tabletop onto the legs, and doing this, you're going to probably want an extra hand, so that way you can pick this up and get it exactly where you want it without hurting yourself. You could probably do it by yourself, but it's a little heavy. So you're going to want to go ahead and position the legs facing forward, and you're going to want the opening facing towards the back. And then you're going to go underneath the table. You're going to want to make sure all 4 holes line up with the bottom of this table. And doing that, not too tricky. And once you get all 4 of those holes somewhat lined up, it's now time to just go ahead and lay on your back. And you're going to go ahead and put those 4 bolts in with those washers on them. So let's go ahead and get that started. Okay, here we go. We're on our back and we're putting these 4 screws in. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at these holes in this bracket. There's 2 on each side, and you're going to line those up with the nuts that are embedded in the table. Once you get those lined up, all you got to do is the bolt and the washer. And this is also a good step to have somebody up top and making sure that table is being at least physically held by somebody while you do this, just in case it wants to slide off, especially before you get a couple bolts in it at least. So once you get one on the front side, you can go ahead and don't tighten it down all the way. Go to the other side, get those fronts. Okay, so one thing I want to mention is when you get to one of those sides, one of these legs might be pushed out just a little bit like this. You might actually have to push it in a little bit to get them to line up. So what I'm doing here is pushing in with my thumb, and then getting this put up. So what I'll do is push this in with my thumb and then screw. And then once you get a couple turns into it, then you don't have to push in so much. It's just the legs have been sitting, or it just needs to be pushed in a little bit for everything to line up perfectly. And then once it's tightened down, it's all good to go. So now I'm going to go back and tighten down all 4, and same concept as the other ones. Don't go super tight. Get them hand tight and just do a little bit more. If you hear a little crinkle noise, that's normal. It's just the wood flexing from the tension of the bolt pulling on it. You don't want to go super tight. Right when you hear a little bit of flex, just stop. That's it. Well, we've got the table set up. That is definitely the hardest part of putting this thing together, and honestly, that wasn't too bad. So now that we've got this set up, it's time to take the head of the machine out of the box and slide it into the table, and then the setup process from there is pretty easy. You're gonna just go ahead and pick up the head of the machine right here. And you can kind of pull up right here, just like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just place it like this. Make sure it's not pushing down on any of those levers too much. It's all good. Or you could set it down sideways on a table. I just wanna put a couple of these little dampening pads on the bottom side of this machine. Okay, so the long one is gonna just stick right here, just like that. And then you've got two medium-sized ones that are gonna sit, one right there, one right there. And that's all it shows in the instructions. That's really all you need, but it does come with a couple more, so if you wanna put one in the middle there, that's totally fine. Now we're ready to put this in the table. You're just gonna pick up from right here, get it like this, and then it just slides right into the table just like that. Keep sliding it forward and push it all the way to the front just like that. Okay, so I went ahead and took the front handlebars out along with all the accessories that come with the machine head box. And we're gonna go ahead and start putting all this hardware on the machine so we can get ready to start using it. We're gonna go ahead and start with the thread stand. You're gonna go ahead and put this foam pad just on these two little thread stand rods, just like that. And then this is the thread guide rod. It goes in like there. Grab this Phillips head screw. It's a medium-sized Phillips head screw. You can just hold the bottom and tighten the rod just like that. And then now you're gonna see that there's two little holes way back here, and that's where those long Phillips head screws go through. So let's go ahead and go on the left side of the machine if you're looking at it and install these two Phillips head screws. So there's going to be two brackets here. Those two brackets is where those Phillips head screws go in and hold the thread stand on. I like to get these screws into this hole like that, and then go ahead and put it against, get that one started. If you have a magnetized Phillips head screwdriver, this really helps hold that screw in place. Now you're just going to go ahead and tighten this one down. Remember, don't go super tight, and if you're using a drill, make sure it's set on the lowest setting so you don't over tighten your screws. Once you have those tightened down on there, this thing should be ready to go. Now we just got to put this thread guide wire on the top, and now this thing pulls up just like that. Now let's go ahead and go to the stitch module. You can just slide it through here like this, and it just pushes onto those two electrical connections like that. And then you'll probably want to pull the machine out ever so slightly, just like so. Make sure these are pushed down nice and tight. And then you're going to grab the M4 16mm. Okay, so you're just gonna put the M3 16mm bolt right there. And this just tightens down with a 2mm Allen key. And that just holds this plastic stitch module onto the machine so that way it doesn't wiggle off. Now you're gonna just reach around the machine like this, push this plug in, and then you can tighten down these two little bolts, and this will hold this plug in from wiggling loose as well. Once you've got these things on, you can go ahead and shift the machine forward back into the table and move on to the next step. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and grab your front light bar, and what you're gonna wanna do is make sure this cord goes into this groove, very important, or nothing will line up. Once you get that cord in the groove, there's going to be 3 bolts that go into the top of these threads here. And these are going to be the M6 12mm bolts. And it does come with a Allen wrench to actually tighten these in, or you can use your own. And once you got all 3 of these tightened down, you can put your screen on, which I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to remove this little plastic cover right here. You're going to use 2 Phillips head or a Phillips head screwdriver. These just come right off like that. Once those come off, this wire is going to run on the top of these 2 metal brackets here, and they are going to plug in to this plug right here, just like so. And now there's a spot to put a zip tie through that. Personally, I don't ever really use a zip tie on that because I don't think that that wire's ever going to move, because it sits into 2 little slots on each side of this bracket, which is also very important to make sure you get those through those slots. Once you get it through those slots, you can go ahead and mount this back on to your machine. And now that we've got this piece here, we're going to want to go ahead and grab our 2.5 millimeter Allen key and grab that. I think it was the M4 by 16 millimeter screw. And that just goes into the side of this bracket to hold this bracket from coming unplugged. So you just tighten that down. That holds that bracket from coming unplugged. And this is how it should look. Little extra wiring there. This is all nice and tight. Just double check that. Well, before we slide our screen on, we need our HDMI and our HDMI mini cord. This just plugs into the front handlebar like so. Then you're gonna run that cord through the screen, and the screen clicks on just like that. And now you're gonna uncover the small HDMI cord, and you're gonna plug that in right here, and then push this back forward. And that is all you have to do to get that front handlebar and screen on. So this little bracket is for the screen if you wanted to put it into a different location. We're not going to be using it in that position, so we're going to leave it just like this. This is a little protector that you would put on and mount on to protect your face from the needle if it were to break. I'm not going to be mounting that on either today. It goes on pretty simple. It also is going to come with a few extra bobbins, of course, a T-screw, a cleaning brush. We have awesome cleaning swabs. I'll put those in the description of this video for cleaning out the hook area. Comes with your anti-vibration cones, and these are just going to slide onto your thread stand for using the large spools. So you'd put these on here, and then your large spools don't wobble around. It comes with a pack of 135 by 5 DPX5 needles, and these are size 18. We recommend size 16 and 18 for this machine. We usually say 18 for heavier, thicker quilts, like memory quilts or t-shirt quilts, and then 16s for just normal, finer quilts. There's a little extra spool cap. And now we have this one thread guide pin that just drops right into this hole right here. And you can give it a little tap like that, so that way it doesn't wiggle around too much. And then of course, you've got some extra oil with your machine. We always recommend picking up an oiling pen to help apply that oil to the hook a little bit better. One other thing I want to mention is, of course, the foot pedal. This will plug into the back of the machine and go on the floor, and you can program that heel click to do a variety of things, of course. There's a great amount of storage underneath this table. As you can see, you can store your toa gauges, extra bobbins, any extra accessories you can store into the actual sandwich part of the table that we were talking about. Final step, we're going to go ahead and just put in our power cord, plugs in right there. Plug it into the wall. And now I always recommend plugging this into a surge protector, so that way if you were to get struck by lightning when not in use, you don't fry any electronics, or just unplug it when you're not using it. Now we can go ahead and turn it on, and you can see the lights turn on the handlebar, and we've got our screen turned on just like that, and now we're ready to start sewing. I am extremely excited that we were able to set this thing up for you guys on video. If you guys have any questions on the setup, of course drop them down in the comment section below. If you have questions on this machine, maybe you're thinking about getting one and you're just a little concerned on the setup, just give us a call. We'll talk you through setting this machine up at home along with this video. We pride ourselves on our customer support and service along with all of our machine sales. So if you guys have any questions when you buy these machines, or if you're interested in one, just give us a call. We're happy to talk to you, fit you in the right machine, or help you out with your machine that you purchased from us. We hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a like and hit that subscribe button, because we have more videos coming out on the sit-down long arm coming soon. We hope to see you guys in the next video. See you later.